The storm came in low and wide across the plains, a moving wall of silver light and rolling thunder that swallowed the horizon one slow bite at a time. From the narrow observation window of Outpost 12, Elias Ward watched it approach with the quiet attention of a man who had nothing else left to watch. The planet was called Mary's Rat, or on official charts, though no one who lived there bothered with the name. There were too few people, too much empty land, and too many days that felt exactly the same. It was a young colony world, breathable air, thin but stable ecosystem, long grasslands that rippled like oceans under the wind, beautiful in a distant, untouchable way, deadly too, if someone forgot how small they were. Elias stood with a mug of cooling tea in his hand, his reflection faint in the glass. Late 30s, dark hair starting to gray at the edges, eyes that looked older than the rest of him. He wore the plain work clothes of a colonial contractor, sleeves rolled up, station patch faded from too many washes. The storm sensors chimed softly behind him. "Yeah," he muttered, not turning around.
"I see it. Outpost 12's job was simple. Watch the sky, measure the weather, send the data back to the main settlement 200 kilometers away. Most days were dull.
Some were tense. A few, like tonight, were dangerous.
Electrical storms on Maris 4 were rare, but when they came with a kind of quiet anger.
The clouds carried charged dust from the upper atmosphere. Lightning didn't just strike. It crawled, spread, clung to metal and living tissue alike. Anyone caught outside in it would not last long. Elias finally stepped away from the window and set his mug down beside the main console. The station hummed gently around him, familiar as breathing. Air recyclers, pow, thermal regulators, the soft tick of rain beginning to hit the outer shell, wind speeds climbing, static levels rising, visibility dropping fast. "Another long night," he said to the empty room. He didn't mind the quiet. Not anymore. Quiet didn't ask questions. Quiet didn't remind him of voices that used to fill rooms and didn't anymore. A sharp beep cut through the steady background noise. Elias frowned and leaned closer to the sensor display. Motion alert. Perimeter grid. Sector 4. Southwest approach. He'd blinked at the screen.
"That's not right. Sector 4 faced open plains, no roads,
no patrol paths. No reason for movement in this weather." He tapped the screen, bringing up the external cameras. At first, all he saw were sheets of rain and grass bending nearly flat under the wind. Lightning flashed, turning the world white for half a second. Then the image stabilized, enhanced by the station's low light filters. Something moved, small, low to the ground. Stumbling, Elias felt his shoulders tense. Probably debris, he told himself. Tumbleweed. Broken panel. Something light.
Another flash of lightning.
The shape fell forward, disappeared in the grass, then struggled up again. It was not debris. He switched to thermal imaging. The screen painted the cold landscape in deep blues and blacks. One small shape glowed faintly orange. Alive. His mouth went dry. "No," he whispered. "No way." There were no scheduled transports, no survey teams in this region, and that heat signature. It was too small to be a human adult, too steady to be an animal he recognized. Protocol scrolled through his mind, clear and cold. Unknown life form. Do not approach. Do not retrieve.
"Notify Central Command and maintain quarantine." He stared at the screen as the figure stumbled again, this time not getting up right away.
Thunder rolled over the station like a passing train. Elias looked toward the airlock at the far end of the room, then back to the screen. "Central's 2 hours out in this weather," he said softly. "If they can even fly." The figure moved again, weaker now. The thermal glow flickered. He knew that kind of flicker. He had seen it once before on a medical monitor. Long ago, in a bright white room that smelled of disinfectant and quiet panic. He shut his eyes for a moment. "Damn it," he breathed. His hands were already moving. He pulled a sealed environment jacket from the locker by the door, shrugging into it with practiced speed. He clipped a portable med scanner to his belt, grabbed an emergency thermal blanket, and hesitated only long enough to key in a manual override on the outer lock. "Unidentified life form recovery," he said to the station log. His voice sounded steadier than he felt. "Single operator, Elias Ward." The lock cycled with a heavy clunk. The door opened to wind that felt like it wanted to shove him back inside. Rain hit his visor in hard, slanting lines. Lightning flashed somewhere to the east, the afterimage burning behind his eyes. The world outside was noise and motion and raw power. He leaned into the wind and started toward Sector 4. Each step was work. The grass whipped against his legs. Mud sucked at his boots. Static prickled along the outer layer of his suit, tiny blue sparks dancing across the surface and fading. His suit display guided him, a small arrow pointing through the storm. 20 meters. 15. 10. Another flash of lightning lit the plains in stark white. He saw it clearly for the first time. The figure lay half-curled in the flattened grass, small and thin, limbs tucked close as if trying to protect its core. Its skin, if that was skin, glowed faintly even through the rain, soft pulses of pale blue light that flickered unevenly. Not human, not anything he had ever seen. "Hey," he said, though he knew it couldn't hear him through the storm. "I've got you." He dropped to one knee beside it. Up close, he could see more details. The body was smooth, no visible hair, shaped in a way that suggested 4 limbs but with joints placed differently than a human's. A narrow torso. A head with no obvious ears, just gentle curves and lines that shimmered with bioluminescent patterns. The light dimmed, then flared weakly as he touched its shoulder. The med scanner beeped as he passed it over the small body. Atmosphere mismatch warning flashed across his visor. Oxygen processing incompatible. Core temperature dropping. "Yeah, I figured," he muttered. Carefully, slowly, he wrapped the thermal blanket around it. The material adjusted instantly, molding to the alien's shape, trapping heat. The bioluminescent patterns shifted under the surface, brighter for a moment, then fading again. "I know," Elias said. "Storm's bad. Let's get you inside." He slid one arm under its upper body, another under its legs, lighter than he expected, and lifted. The alien made a faint sound, not quite a cry. More like air moving through a narrow space. The lights along its skin flickered rapidly, then steadied.
"I'm not going to hurt you," he said, though the words felt small and useless. The walk back felt longer.
The wind pushed harder, as if annoyed he was taking something from it. Twice, he almost slipped. Each time he tightened his hold, shielding the small form with his own body. By the time the outpost door came into view through the rain, his arms ached, and his breathing was loud in his helmet. The airlock swallowed them with a heavy hiss. The outer door sealed, cutting off the storm's roar like a switch being flipped. Inside, the sudden quiet rang in his ears. He lowered the alien gently onto the airlock floor as the inner chamber began to equalize. Warning lights flashed amber as the system flagged unknown biological presence.
Yeah, he said.
When the inner door opened, he carried the alien into the main room and laid it on the padded bench near the medical station. Under the bright lights, the details were even stranger. The skin, or outer layer, was not one single color. It was like a deep ocean at night, dark with threads of soft light moving just beneath the surface. No visible mouth, but a narrow line along the lower face that pulsed faintly. Elias set the scanner to passive mode and began a slow sweep. Heart-like rhythm present. Neural activity low, but stable. Severe stress markers. "You're tough," he murmured. I'll give you that. He adjusted the station's internal atmosphere slightly, adding more of the inert gases that might help based on the scanner's rough analysis. It was guesswork, but careful guesswork. The alien's lights shifted from chaotic flickers to slower, more even pulses. He pulled up a chair and sat beside the bench, elbows on his knees. "Well," he said quietly, "this is new." For a long time, he just watched to make sure the readings stayed steady. Outside, thunder rolled again, distant now, the storm moving on across the endless plains. Inside Outpost 12, for the first time in years, Elias Ward was not alone. He looked at the small, glowing stranger wrapped in a human emergency blanket and felt something in his chest that he had not felt in a very long time. Not fear, not grief, something warmer, something fragile. "Guess it's just us tonight," he said softly. The lights under the alien's skin pulsed once, slow and bright, like a distant star trying to shine through the dark. Morning came slowly to Outpost 12, not with sunlight, but with a gentle brightening of the sky beyond the thick observation window. The storm had passed in the night, leaving the plains washed clean and shining under a pale silver dawn. Inside, the air was warm and still. Elias Ward had not slept much. He had dozed in short stretches in the chair beside the medical bench, waking every time the scanner made a new sound or the alien's bioluminescent patterns shifted too quickly. Years of fieldwork had trained him to rest lightly, but this was different. This was not a broken instrument or a faulty weather drone. This was a life that did not belong to any known world in the human records. He rubbed his eyes and leaned forward, studying the scanner display again. Core temperature was higher than during the night. Respiratory exchange, whatever form it took, was more stable. The soft blue and green lights beneath the alien's skin moved in slow, steady waves instead of the frantic flickers from before. "That's good," he said quietly. "That's really good." As if in response, the lights along the alien's upper body brightened, then dimmed again in a gentle rhythm. Elias glanced at the station clock. 6 hours since retrieval. "Okay," he muttered. "Step 1, don't panic. Step 2, don't do anything stupid." He stood and moved around the room, giving himself something to do while he thought. He adjusted the nutrient printer, setting it to produce a neutral broth for himself. The familiar smell filled the small kitchen area, grounding him. Normal, routine, things he understood. Behind him, the scanner gave a soft chime. He turned quickly. The alien had moved. One of its upper limbs, longer than he first thought, with delicate joint bends, shifted against the blanket. The lights under its skin rippled in a fast, bright pattern that traveled from its head down to its torso. Elias approached slowly, hands visible, movements careful and smooth. "Hey," he said in a calm, low voice. "You're awake." "That's good. That's very good." The alien's head turned toward him. There were no visible eyes in the human sense, but 2 oval areas near the front of its head grew brighter, focusing light forward. He had the strong feeling of being looked at. It made a soft sound, a faint hum that vibrated in the air more than rang through it.
"I know," Elias said. "You're probably confused."
"I would be too." He stopped a few steps away from the bench, not wanting to crowd it. The alien's lights flashed rapidly in shifting patterns, blues, greens, hints of violet. Its body tensed, limbs pulling in closer.
"It's okay," he said gently. "You're safe here."
No storm. No wind. He pointed toward the window where calm grassland stretched under the quiet sky. "Safe," he repeated, placing a hand on his own chest.
"Elias." He tapped his chest again. "Elias."
Then, slowly, he pointed toward the alien, raising his eyebrows in a silent question. The lights along its skin stuttered, then formed a slow spiral pattern across its torso. A faint tone came from it, rising and falling in a way that felt almost like a word, but one he could not shape with his mouth.
Elias smiled a little. Yeah, I can't say that either.
He looked around, thinking. Then he grabbed a small tablet from the console and brought up a blank drawing screen. Sitting on the floor a few meters away, he turned it so the alien could see. He drew a simple stick figure of a human. Then he pointed to himself. "Elias," he said again. Next to it, he drew a simple star shape, then pointed to the alien. The alien's lights pulsed quickly. One limb lifted from the blanket and extended toward the screen, stopping just short. The tip of the limb glowed brighter, and a small, sharp line of light traced through the air, touching the screen. The tablet registered the contact as input. A shape appeared beside the star Elias had drawn. Not random, but a flowing pattern of curves and dots that pulsed softly.
Elias stared.
"That's your name?" The alien's lights brightened in a quick wave. "Okay," he said softly.
"That's your name."
Ooh.
He looked at the complex symbol again and chuckled. "I'm going to need a shortcut." He tapped the screen next to the glowing symbol and typed slowly, Luma. He turned the screen back toward the alien and pointed. "Luma," he said. "Okay." The alien watched the letters. Its lights shifted, moving in a thoughtful, slower pattern. Then it made a soft, rising tone and tapped the screen once more beside the word. Elias grinned. "Luma it is." For the next hour, they stayed like that, separated by a few meters of floor and a whole universe of difference, but slowly building a bridge out of simple things. Elias showed her pictures from the station database, the planet from orbit, the main human settlement, a diagram of the outpost. He pointed to himself when he showed a picture of a human, then gestured around the station to show that this was where he lived. Luma responded with light and tone. Sometimes she used the tablet, drawing shapes that Elias guessed were stars, lines between them, clusters that might be ships or places. Her movements grew stronger as time passed, though she still stayed mostly wrapped in the thermal blanket. At one point, Elias held up his mug of broth and took an exaggerated sip. "Food," he said, patting his stomach. Luma tilted her head. Her lights dimmed, then brightened in a curious pattern. She made a soft clicking sound and pointed to herself, then toward the storage lockers.
"You need something different," Elias guessed. He brought the scanner back and ran another careful scan, focusing on chemical markers.
He cross-referenced with the station's supply list, frowning.
"I don't have anything made for you," he admitted.
"But maybe I can make something close." He spent the next half hour working with the nutrient printer, adjusting mineral balances and removing compounds that might be harmful. It was rough science, the kind done in frontier labs and emergency camps, but he was careful. He poured the final mixture into a shallow, flexible container and set it on the floor between them before backing away. Luma watched it for a long moment. Then one thin limb extended, the tip glowing brighter. It touched the surface of the liquid. The glow shifted color, pulsing in slow waves. Elias held his breath. After a few seconds, Luma drew the limb back and made a low, steady tone. Her lights brightened across her torso, a smooth, even glow. "Good?" Elias asked. The glow intensified for a moment. He let out a long breath. "I'll take that as a yes." As the day went on, the station felt different. Not louder, not busier, but fuller. Elias found himself talking more than he had in months. He explained what each console did, what the weather readings meant, how humans had come to Maris to build something new. Luma listened in her own way. Her lights reacted to his voice, sometimes pulsing in time with his speech, sometimes forming slow patterns that felt almost thoughtful. In the afternoon, she tried to stand. Elias was at her side in an instant, but did not touch her. "Easy," he said. "No rush." Luma pushed herself upright on unsteady limbs. She was shorter than him by a full head. her body slender but balanced. The blanket slipped slightly, and Elias saw faint lines along her sides that opened and closed in a slow rhythm. Breathing, maybe, or some other exchange. She took one careful step on the station floor, then another. Her lights flared bright gold for a moment, a burst of color he had not seen before. Elias smiled.
First steps on a human floor, he said. You're doing great.
She turned slowly, taking in the room from a standing view, her head tilted toward the window, toward the endless plains beyond. For a brief second, her lights dimmed to a deep blue.
I get that. He did not know if she understood the words, but the tone carried.
He pointed to his chest, then made a wide gesture around the empty landscape outside. Alone, he said. Luma looked at him. Her lights shifted, forming a soft, steady pattern that moved from her head down to her core. She took a slow step closer and stopped just within arm's reach. One glowing limb lifted and hovered in the air between them. Elias hesitated only a moment before raising his hand. He did not grab, did not pull, just let his fingers lightly touch the smooth, warm surface of her limb. The light under her skin brightened at the contact point, spreading outward in gentle waves. Something in his chest eased just a little.
Guess it's not just me anymore, he said softly. Outside, the wind moved through the tall grass in long, quiet waves.
Inside Outpost 12, two beings from different stars stood in shared silence, both a little less alone than they had been the day before.